My name is Michael, or as I prefer to be called, MD Nicholson. Today I'm here to read a little excerpt from my superhero sci-fi dystopia known as Mare, the Complete Saga. I hope you enjoy. This is chapter 1. Here's where it all started. Our story begins on a tombstone labeled Mark Adriano, with the inscription underneath saying, "Liar, cheater, traitor." A young man in a strange outfit appears and says, "You know, Dad, you missed a lot when you left me after presuming I died back in Mare City. But don't worry, I'll give you a quick recap while I also do something important of note." Suddenly, a hole in space and time forms, and the young man blasts a beam of lightning into it. Through this temporal rip, a new location is shown in the former building with a giant sign on the front revealing it to be the Mare City Museum of Modern History. Inside are a group of high school students heading their way to the building's free indoor theater for all to see. Within this crowd are 4 individuals of note: Seymour Adriano and his pals Ella, Tora, and Johnny. The class is soon seated because a movie is about to debut in this theater, particularly about how their hometown, Mare City, came to be. However, some students groan at this, as they've heard it all before. A 13.7 meter-sized meteor was about to hit the Earth and kill everyone on July 31st, 2036. But instead, it softly landed off the coast of California and formed into an island. After some government officials went there to make sure it was safe, it was soon declared the newest state of the country, with many citizens flocking to populate the first settlement. As a result, the meteor, once deemed to end the world, eventually came to be known as Mare City. The name didn't come from some historical person, but instead just some guy named John Mare. His only notable contribution being swimming to the island before some sponsored boat race contestants could get to it first. And so, John was immediately pushed into the limelight as a result. He's even in this very museum at a stand just handing out autographs like it's free sushi. We are in the present day of 2039, the 3-year anniversary of the city's founding. After the presentation, Seymour proceeds to doodle in his book, while Ella just keeps on taking notes as usual, or uses this chance to check on the ones she's already made. As for Tora, she's just covering her face with her hands at the crazy visuals on screen. And as for Johnny, he's making sure his nails aren't cracked. As they then leave, Tora just moans at the fact that they've heard much of this in their history classes back in middle school. Of course, Ella's the one to point out that they're here now because most of the class failed their regents to pass on to the next grade, so we had to do summer classes to compensate for this, including writing the history report about what they just learned in the museum trip. Seymour gets it, but reveals, "I didn't know there was a page with a backside to it with questions." As for Ella's excuse, "I failed my regents on purpose to keep my class presidency here and stay with you all. I wouldn't have done it if you did great." Taurus is, "I wasn't able to study. My mom and dad had me panic when they discovered that my pure salad diet was doing more harm than good." And as for Johnny, he sternly states, "I needed time to talk to my father. In the few portions of the day, he could do so. He's a very busy man after all, being a pastor and a bar tender for the community at large." This is when their grouchy old teacher, Mr. Magnus, tells them that the trip's over and they all got to get back to the bus, which all 20 classmates proceed to do. You think it's a simple way back, but that's when the yellow vehicle slammed hard by a maniac man in a truck that clearly passed the red light, which led to the bus tumbling and then landing into the nearby man-made Mare City Lake, which is weirdly glistening a little too much for something that should be plain fresh water. The unnamed bus driver, who took the full force of the crash, is seen by those around as dead, with his head caved in and blood splattered all over the seat itself. However, the teachers and students are still kicking with minor/moderate injuries, especially since many have their seatbelts on. But that's when the metallic groaning sound is heard to signify the bus is sinking, and fast. Mr. Magnus tries to have everyone head out the emergency back door that exists on every one of these vehicles, but the rest just panic and scramble to leave, even smashing through the nearby window to slip out and swim to shore. Seymour and his team were the last ones to leave since they were at the front of the bus. But that's when Seymour realizes he forgot his treasure notebook and other items he brought with him in the backpack, so he quickly turns back around to retrieve it. Thanks to this, though, Ella's blocked from getting out, while Tora and Johnny made it to land safely. But that's when Tora collapses out of nowhere. You think it might be due to exhaustion, or fear, or just fainting out of the blue? But Johnny removes her orange-tinted glasses to reveal Tora's eyes are now yellow. As he quickly calls 911 and holds her close, we see Seymour finally not only got his backpack, but also Ella's and many others too. And they start running out as the bus is about to finally tip over into the water. Instead of letting ladies go first, Seymour ran out the vehicle's back door to dump all the stuff left on the way, and then turned around to finally help out Ella out of the sinking school bus. Just as their hands meet, that's when a lightning bolt from the sky strikes down on the main boy's head, and since Seymour and his friend were wet and holding hands, the fatal electrical current goes through him and into Ella. Seymour collapses near the weak Tora, and as for Ella, the bus finally goes into the lake and sends her down alongside it since she wasn't able to get out in time. Minutes later, in a new location known as Mare City Hospital, various emergency officials are carting inside the bodies of the injured students, including the retrieved Ella and likely dead Seymour. The paramedics have been able to suck the water out of Ella's lungs and perform CPR, but she hasn't regained consciousness from the drowning, and they're not sure if she suffered serious brain damage from either that or the lightning strike. As for Seymour, the emergency officials tried to use defibrillators to restart his heart, but nothing worked. So the main attendant there, a young woman with red-dyed hair named Dr. Scarlett Gray, officially declares him dead upon arrival in his medical records. Hours pass, and Dr. Gray then relays this info to Seymour's parents, Daniela and Mark, and they're left to cry over it. Though slightly more hopeful news is told to Ella's parents, Harry and Emily. Their girl's not dead, nor suffer brain damage, but is understandably in a coma, the kind of which the hospital staff will have to see if she'll ever wake up from, which leads to her parents running off to go see their child anyway. As for Tora's eccentric parents, Henry and Irma, they're begging for the quote-unquote prognosis and diagnosis of their own daughter, asking like a million questions and trying to utter pointless medical knowledge they came in here in their veterinarian garbs. Thankfully, Dr. Gray shushes them easily and explains, Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert, your daughter has got the simplest case here. She only has jaundice due to hepatitis C, and she'll get over it in about 2 weeks or so, provided she gets the best treatment and medication, of course. Right away, the two parents are thanking Dr. Gray a little too much, and also request to see their kid. But the red doctor decides to let them stay here since Tora still needs time to herself. Henry, however, yells to the red doctor with, "Nonsense! We've been here since she was born. Sure, it was 6 months instead of 9, but we still gave her all of our love and attention. Come along, Irma. We'll find her." Normally, Dr. Gray would just tell them to buck her off before she calls security on them, but she's got other matters to deal with. In particular, she checks her list on her clipboard and heads to room 173, where another recent patient had been rolled in and strapped down to avoid any potential outbursts. A burn victim named Bridget Hawkins. This injured woman's report showed she got heavily damaged over at the Mare City Science Labs and had been found by the man she'd been working under named Anthony Clarkson. Gray's eyes, as she states, to think the son of the man who helped fund this city got this leech to be assistant. Boy, won't she be salty after this. The redhead doctor enters Bridget's room and sees Bridget wake up. Dr. Gray resumes her more professional mannerisms and says, hello, Miss Hawkins. I know 90% of the body has been covered in a mixture of second to third degree burn because of, she stops talking to check her notes, a chemical incident in the lab. But I'm just wondering about the specific exactly. So, run by me again what happened here. Bridget is only able to emit muffled screams that are actually meant to be, I can't breathe. But Dr. Gray has a harder time deciphering it. Of course, Dr. Gray has some ideas like, I can't believe or I can't be. And the doctor even pulls out some cents from her pocket to contemplate her decision. Ultimately, she decides not to and simply leaves the room stating, sorry, Miss Hawkins, but I got other patients to deal with. If anything goes down hard, just push the button near your bed. Ta-ta! Of course, Bridget ain't having it and tries to break out of her restraints. The few bits of her exposed face show her obvious frustration and anger welling up inside of her. But eventual suffocation from the bandages gets the better of her, and she passes out. There. So, any questions?
We got 8 minutes.
Yes. Any questions?
Maybe.
Hello, Mr. M.D. Nicholson. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us, and congratulations on the publication. That's amazing. I think that what a lot of people here wish to strive for. Since the book is already published, I don't think I'm going to give a lot of notes or edits on the writing itself. But first, I would like to congratulate you and praise you for your presentation. This was close to, I want to say, audiobook level of reading. Your familiarity with the text, first of all, a lot of people here aren't even reading here, sometimes aren't even familiar with their own text, and they stumble upon words. I don't think you did that once. It was very, very smooth for us to listen to. Your reading pace was fantastic. It was very easy to follow and understand. If I were to give one nitpicky note, is that in between paragraphs and transitioning between scenes, I would love a little bit more of a pause. I would love to be able to taste my own tongue and just get a pulse check on how I feel about what just happened. Because you gave us a lot, There were disasters and lightning strikes, there were, emergencies in hospitals. I would like to take a break and think about what just happened before we go into the meat grinder again. But otherwise, I really enjoyed the experience, and thank you very much for joining us.
All right. Anyone else?
I also want to echo what Randy said. It was so enjoyable to listen to, and you're so immersed in the story that it helped us get into it too. We met a lot of interesting characters, and I'm curious to see what's going to come of this group of friends being struck by lightning while all holding hands. I see there's a lot of book, so I know there's a lot that's going to happen. We already had a lot in this first chapter. So yeah, thanks for being here and sharing this with us. I really enjoyed it. Anyone else?
I think echoing that point, it was very well presented, and I think just something to keep in mind for future writing, because obviously with this being published, there's not much to change at this point. But I think it might help a little bit to build out the world a little bit to help us get emotionally invested in these characters. I think you mentioned that the region became a state, pretty quickly after the storm. That doesn't just happen overnight, right? There's a process to getting a state and everything. People have to migrate over there. And there's economy that develops, that contributes to the country. Like, how did they develop statehood? You know, just as an example, like one area to help going out the world a little bit, I think might be helpful. But you know, very well done. And, like you said, Chris, see where these characters go next. So, thanks for sharing.
Oh yes, it's because I only read out the excerpt version of the story. If you get the main book, I have several of them.
Oh, was that the intro?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Just like,
basically,
let me give you the mic, 1 second.
Yeah, I want the mic. That's the gallery. Yeah. Oh, you can put it back in.
Thank you.
Yeah. I only read the excerpt version of the story, you know. If you buy the book, you can actually see all the details that, you know, are worth, you know, exploring. In fact, I have some over there. If you want to buy it, it's only $30.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I got more on their way. So stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.